There are too many places in this country where pollution and environmental degradation fall disproportionately on low-income and minority communities. People are falling ill with diseases like asthma and cancer. We can't stand by and accept those disparities. As a start, we're building our environmental justice team, increasing budget support for their work, and seeking creative new strategies. We're putting in place internships, youth summits, organizing workshops, and other strategies to generate the inclusive and intergenerational leadership that the environmental movement and EPA needs. Environmental justice communities have tremendous experience confronting unfair burdens and shaping sustainable alternatives. Your grassroots movement is an invaluable partner. In the years ahead, we'll be calling on your expertise, and I look forward to working with all of you to improve the state of environmental justice in America.
I'm interested in the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. So eventually, how many kids are going to be involved with this through the 60 Boys and Girls Clubs?
Well, Roxanne has grown the Boys and Girls Club to almost 5 million kids now, and I know she has ambitious plans to grow it even further.
So all the kids will be involved?
Yeah, what they're trying to do is incorporate the message of energy stewardship and the environment into the Boys and Girls Club, successful model. They have a model that works. They reach kids.
And can you talk a little bit about why you chose this bottom-up approach, sort of educating the kids to educate their parents?
Well, because it's worked before. I mean, we'll take any approach when it comes to environmental education that works, but we know that one thing about the environmental movement, young people understand it, young people get it, but one of the things that we know is that young kids can go home and their parents will listen to them, because I have yet to meet the parent, whether it's in the corporate boardroom or an environmental advocate, who you can't reach by talking to them about their children. Listen, our overarching priority is to put EPA back square in the focus of the American people. Greenhouse gases, yesterday's finding means an acknowledgement on the part of this country, first time ever, that greenhouse gases are pollution. We know about pollution in this country. We know about air pollution. And to put that in context, we have a Clean Air Act that deals with pollution. It is my fervent hope that we will soon have a new law that deals with greenhouse gas pollution, and that complements that with a whole suite of measures to move us to a greener energy economy. And most importantly, we're going to make sure the EPA is there for every single American. Low-income Americans, people of color, people just like these kids who are going to grow up to see a very different EPA and a very different environment if we're successful.
Buenas tardes, Lulac. These are my employees, so it's good. Buenas tardes, EPA. Among minority communities, only our minority communities, Latino children have the highest rates of leukemia in the entire nation. Nearly 30 million Latinos, 72% of the entire Latino population, live in places that do not meet federal U.S. air pollution standards. Nearly 29 million live in areas that don't meet standards for ozone. So that in many ways explains the curse of asthma in our communities. Puerto Ricanos have the highest asthma rate of any group in the United States, 125% higher than non-Hispanic whites, and still 80% higher than African Americans. They face an asthma death rate that is 360% higher than non-Hispanic whites. These are tragic consequences. It's what happens when you're on the margin of the environmental conversation. To channel concerns and needs of Latino communities into empowered action. That's our job. But to do that, we need to expand the idea of what is an environmentalist and what is environmentalism. The inauguration of President Barack Obama, the first African American president, his nomination of me, an African American woman, to lead the Environmental Protection Agency has changed the very face of what it means to look like an environmentalist. We have a critical need right now to broaden the conversation about environmentalism in this country. That's especially true when it comes to Black and other minority communities. They're often low income, and that means they're disproportionately exposed to environmental problems. Today, the inauguration of the first African American president, my confirmation as the head of this agency, has literally changed the very face of the environmental movement in this country. More than most groups, the leadership of BIG understands the importance of shifting old, tired paradigms for change. BIG is fighting to make American government look like America, in the same way that I'm making sure that our agency looks like the people that we serve. Or when we think about environmental protection, there was a time when my father, living in the South, would have been forced to drink unsafe water out of different pipes and different fountains because of his race. And we also need to make clear that environmentalism goes hand in hand with traditional civil rights and social justice issues. Now's the time for us to broaden the conversation about the environment, to expand the tent of our coalition, so that people don't stand at this podium and think of the environment as something that stops them from building houses, but says, why do we build houses and where should we build them, and how do we ensure that the houses we build with our taxpayer money are safe and clean and healthy and affordable? How do we make sure that people who are housing advocates also call themselves environmentalists? Well, one way to do that is to follow the lead of BIG and make EPA itself a more diverse and inclusive workplace. So I have an announcement. I'm very proud to announce that today we are creating a new position at EPA to do just that. The new person will work directly with Craig Hooks, the Assistant Administrator for Administration and Resource Management. And the job will be to spearhead and coordinate diversity initiatives like I just described throughout the country. We have a range of diversity initiatives happening all across EPA, but they happen in offices all over EPA, from the Office of Civil Rights to the Office of Environmental Education. And all those offices are staffed by people like you who are dedicated to our agency and to our mission. But now we'll have a single person, and we want to give this person help to bring all those efforts together, to build on them and make them even more powerful. So this new position will have the title of Associate Assistant Administrator for Outreach, Diversity, and Collaboration. The fruition of the dreams of folks who have been advocating on environmental justice for a long, long time, and almost made it their life's passion, and that's that they have a seat at the table and a voice, and that they're listened to, that it is not an afterthought to be redressed later, but that in decision making, in policy making, we give consideration to make sure that those who are poor, those who are already disproportionately impacted for whatever set of reasons, aren't being asked to accept an additional share of environmental burden because it's easier or because they're disenfranchised. So that a lot of communities who may feel separate from environmental issues suddenly have a real stake in them, because they literally make their living through green energy or through site cleanup. We've seen some amazing success stories in the Brownfields program where you give jobs to people to help clean up sites in their own community. And you don't just give someone a job when that happens, you build an environmentalist from the ground up, because now all of a sudden that's an issue that they care about. It literally is their life's work, and that's what we want to see as well.